Can God work through a stubborn Christian? Well, I certainly hope so, because all Christians are stubborn to some degree. But I think this question is talking about, what about an extraordinarily stubborn believer? Can God possibly use such a person in his efforts to bring people to redemption? Well, if you look at the Bible, it's filled with stories of heroes of the faith that indeed struggle with significant stubbornness. I mean, Abraham and Moses are example. Probably the most dramatic example is Jonah. He was a stubborn believer, and yet God, in spite of the extreme stubbornness of Jonah, was able to use him to bring thousands of people in Nineveh to become followers of God. And when we look at the book of Esther, we see that God even used Xerxes, an unbelieving king over the Persian Empire, indeed a very stubborn man, and was even able to use the stubbornness of an unbeliever to achieve his purpose. So God is not limited by our stubbornness. Of course, he wants to deliver us from our stubbornness. And what I love about the last few chapters of the book of Job, it tells us that we all have pride, and we need humility in order to have a relationship with God. But just like it takes a higher being to tame birds and mammals, it takes a higher being to tame a proud human heart. And therefore, we're to follow Job's example and going to God for the humility that we need so that we will not be crippled by our stubbornness and allow God to use us. Because certainly, God is more able to use a less stubborn Christian than a more stubborn Christian. But hey, we all have stubbornness. It's a battle we all need to deal with. But God is there to help us overcome our prideful hearts and begin to walk with him humbly.